it's Jade. Thank you so much for coming back to my Bachelor commentary. This week we have hometowns and we are figuring out who is making it to the fantasy suites and eventually to the season finale. I can't believe we're already here. It feels like we just started. Thank you so much for coming along and let's get into it. So Juliana's hometown date is in Newton, Massachusetts. She meets up with Grant and shows him the city. They make pizza, they make bouquets, they make cannolis, and they sit down for a little bit and she tells Grant that her dad has taught her how to be strong and she really appreciates that about him. And so he will be a hard hitter with the questions tonight. And then she lets him know that she's practically having all her entire family there. They gonna be rolling deep. And so Grant is so happy that so much of her family is coming because he doesn't have a big family and he wants to be able to have a big family one day. He wants his family to seamlessly fit into her family or whoever's family, and that's what these hometown dates are gonna allow him to see. When they first get there and are congregating around the family, some words are spoken, and then I think out of habit, Grant and Juliana kiss, and then the dad says, "Get a room," and then that's when we start to go into the conversations. During Grant and Juliana's dad's conversation, Grant really woos her dad by saying that he respects how he's kept his family together, got all his family together for this big event just to see, him and Juliana together. And he says that his dad was a great dad, but he's always looking to learn. And so to have Juliana's dad as a father-in-law would be a great learning experience for him. And he's just so thankful that, he took the time to meet him. And Juliana's dad practically falls in love with Grant right then and there. When Juliana asks him later, "What do you think?" he says he loves the guy. He said he's super level-headed. And, he just has a tough decision to make. Obviously, the dad is hoping that Grant chooses Juliana. But nevertheless, Grant got the okay from Juliana's dad. After meeting everyone, they step outside of the house for a minute, and Juliana tells Grant that she's falling in love with him. Oh my gosh! And Grant says it right back. This is going to be a tough week. I can't imagine meeting all these families, bonding with them, making them feel like you have their trust, and then at the end of the week, you got to break somebody's heart whose family you just met. I would not want to be in Grant's shoes at all. Zoe's one-on-one is in New York. Zoe did not grow up in New York, but that is the city that she calls home. She quickly tells Grant that unfortunately, she does not have a good relationship with her adoptive parents anymore, so he will not be meeting them that day, but he will be meeting her chosen family, which is her sister, her aunt and uncle, and some friends. For their date activity, Zoe talks about how not only did she move to New York for a tech career, but while she was there, she also pursued modeling, which is something she always wanted to do. And so they have a whole bridal shoot campaign. I don't know, it's very much on the nose. Could be seen as a little bit awkward, even though Zoe wanted to give Grant a glimpse into his future. But I've got to say, Zoe knew what she was doing. Zoe felt super comfortable. The shots came out super cute. I could totally see this being in a bridal magazine. Plus, if they do get engaged, that's one less photo shoot they got to worry about. When Grant reflects on how their bridal shoot date went, he says that he is really seeing a connection with Zoe, that they just fit. He was so glad he got to see Zoe in her element today, how she has it all, she's beautiful, she's smart, and, there's potential of them. And I gotta say, for Zoe to come from no one-on-one date to her having to plan the one-on-one date in hometowns, she took advantage of that when she ran with the bridal shoot. And some people would say it's a little too far, but I think because she models all the time, it was really she was just showing him a glimpse of her everyday life. And they both really liked it. At the end of the shoot, Grant has a tux on the rooftop of this building in New York, and Zoe joins him in her bridal gown so he can really see what it would be like to marry her. They talk about how they have bonded over the fact that they both had unconventional childhoods, and regardless of who's there, Grant is excited to meet Zoe's family. Zoe's aunt is super protective of Zoe, and she just really doesn't want to see Zoe's heart shatter because she says, and I quote, "enough with that," which I assume she's, alluding to the fact that Zoe's been through a lot in her life already with her parents and probably past relationships. The last thing she needs is to get her heart broken right here by Grant. And so she's really going to try to do her best to suss out Grant and see what's up with him and his intentions with Zoe. Zoe shares with her sister how excited Grant makes her feel, but she hasn't had a one-on-one date like the other women have. And Zoe's sister hesitates to understand why that is, and so she confronts Grant and asks. And Grant basically shares that he felt that Zoe and him were both holding back, or at one time one was trying to go, but the other was going back. And at some point, I guess the last 2 episodes, Zoe really showed herself to Grant, and Grant was like, okay, that's all I need. From here on out, we're locked in. And so Grant feels that their connection came right on time. Not too early, not too late. When they go outside to debrief, Grant says of all the women, he feels the most vulnerable with Zoe. That is news to me. Oh my gosh, he might think more highly of her than I assumed he had. Zoe talks about how she takes him meeting her family seriously. She's super hopeful for this, and she just hopes it is not too late for them to have a chance. Next is Team Latia! Okay, so Latia's hometown date is in Wyoming. It is not the place she calls home. That place would be her grandmother's house. However, since her grandmother has passed away, the place that the family calls home is Star Valley, Wyoming. So that is where Grant is today to meet her family. They kick off the date with a romantic horseback riding adventure showing the plains and vast spaces of Wyoming, which Grant taught me on The Bachelor's Instagram is the least populated state in the United States. As Grant is walking up to Latia, the audio of him is playing, and he's saying how
Latia balances me. She's genuine, she's beautiful, she's funny. But the thing that stands out to me the most is how caring, how loving she is. I can just feel it when I look into her eyes. I feel like she's gonna make a great mother, a great wife, and I can feel that, So for me, she's special.
She seems so nice. She seems like she'd be the best mom. I don't know. I am really hoping it works out for them. I know one thing Grant is worried about is the fact that Latia has never brought someone home outside of the Mormon faith, and people that she has dated in the past were of her same religion, but she said it didn't work out with them. Grant discusses how he has tattoos, he likes to drink sometimes, he likes to have fun, and so will her family accept him? And that is weighing on him. But luckily that is quickly put to rest. A bunch of Latia's family comes out and greets them. They're playing tug of war. They're basically having like a backyard barbecue. It's so deep in there. It's so many people. And Grant steps to the side with Lydia's stepdad, and he quickly says that
It's just, for me, I'm just trying to be as transparent as possible,
Oh, we're so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, Latia mentioned before she even did this that, she read about you and saw that you were a man of faith, and that's impressive to us. And, if you're, not a particular, a member of our church necessarily, that doesn't mean that we reject you or we can't accept you into our family. And I'm very impressed with what I see. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Within our culture, I think it's, family is very important. They say no amount of success can compensate for failure in the home. And I think Latia really believes in that. Just as long as he has faith and that he has values, and that he's going to treat my daughter with respect, and that he's going to love her. I give him my full love.
And y'all, I was nervous selfishly because I want Gratia to be together, but I know asking someone to convert is a lot. And so if they were going to press Grant to convert, I thought that would be the one thing where I'm like, okay, you shouldn't be with Latia. But it seems like everything's all good. Even Latia's mom reiterates,
I hope that you feel comfortable being yourself with us.
Yeah.
Because there is really no expectation from us. I think that core value and core belief that God is important and he will be important as you raise your family together, that's what's the most important thing.
Latia shares this sweet moment with her grandpa and talks about how, you know, they welcomed her dad into their family who didn't look like everybody else. And, you know, the grandpa says, oh yeah, but I didn't doubt for 1 minute that he wasn't the right person for your mom, and we loved him. He was such an easy man to love. And she's trying to segue that into how, you know, Grant is not of the same religion, but, you know, she's hoping that everyone can love him the same. And she even tells her grandpa that she thinks she's falling in love with Grant. And her grandpa is so excited for her. Later on, when Latia is talking to her mom, she kind of says the same thing to her mom by saying that she thinks she loves Grant, and she shares the moment where she realized it.
On our one-on-one too, there was like this moment that he talked about, like, when he felt like really lonely, like as a little kid. And I think that's like when I knew that I loved him, because I just was like, it made me so sad, and it just made me want to like be there for him. Like I just like pictured him as a little kid, and it just made me so sad. And I like want to give him a family that loves him, and like I want to give him, like, I want him to know what it feels like.
It broke my heart to imagine a younger version of him being by himself, and I just want to give him a family that loves him. And that's when she knew, and that is so stinking cute. Oh my gosh. I can't take it, y'all. I can't take it. Love them real bad. Dina's one-on-one is in Chicago, her hometown. She walks up to greet Grant, but the vibe is clearly off, at least to me. Grant can't tell, but Dina doesn't seem like her usual self. And she sits Grant down and explains that her dad is a deacon, an ordained minister, heavily in the church. The idea of him or the family putting themselves out there for a show where Grant is dating Dina and also several other women does not sound like something the family wants to participate in. And so they call Dina last minute to opt out of this meeting. So Dina's clearly sad, and Grant cares about that. He's like, you know, that sucks, but we'll still have a good time. And how are you feeling? And Dina says,
obviously for me, I would have loved to have Grant be in Chicago and meet my family. He's bummed out, understandably, and I think that he sees that I'm a little bit more uncomfortable.
Despite them not being able to come, she does have some friends that would love to meet him. And so, you know, someone will be there for her, and someone will be there to grill Grant with questions that her family would have otherwise asked. Now, I get maybe like you don't want to put yourself out there because you're a deacon and things like that, but she has 11 siblings. Not one of them could come out on Dina's behalf. Not one. She's one of 12 and not one. She doesn't have a super close brother, a super close sister, a super close cousin. That's messed up. So you mean Dina's parents called a town hall meeting, hopped on Zoom for an hour and a half, hopped on Skype, hopped on Google, whatever it's called for Google, and said, hey, we not doing Dina's little bachelor thing. If you do it, you will be excised from the family? That's so messed up. How you got 11 siblings and not one show up for you? It's one. For their date activity, it's October clearly, so they're going to this Halloween themed fair, and they do a maze and they play all these fun little games. Dina can still tell Grant is a little bummed out about not meeting her family, but she's really trying to just move on with the day and have fun with the games and cheer him up. Later on, all of her friends come and they're rolling deep, which is so sweet. They have Dina's back. It's gotta be like 11 of them minimum. Ironic, right? Ironic. One of Dina's friends asked Grant how he feels about not meeting Dina's family today. And he says that, meeting the family is something that's really important to him. He really wants to spend this time to see if he can connect with the family. And then he's not saying this to them anymore, but, in his confessional that not meeting a family is a make or break at this point. So Dina, sweetie, it's not looking good for you. And it's not your fault. It's your family with the town hall meeting. Calling it last minute, making everybody stay up and put a poll in to support you or not. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. Grant tells Dina's friends how he thinks she's beautiful, brilliant, and successful, and a dynamic that they have is not a dynamic that he's used to, but it truly intrigues him. And her friends say, it should intrigue you. Dina has a big heart. She has so much love to give. And we hope you pick our girl, basically. As Dina talks to her friends later, she says that she's starting to fall in love with Grant. And she can now see the glimpse and possibility of a future with Grant. As we come to the end of all the hometown dates, I'm just reflecting on how Grant has now told Latia and Juliana that he's falling in love with them. I'm not sure about Zoe. I don't think so. And he hasn't said it at all to Dina. Dina is starting to feel that way, but she hasn't said that to Grant. So Grant has not said anything back. It is now time for a bachelor meetup session. Woo, woo, woo! Bring Joey to the stage, please.
Is kind of in the beginning of all of this, so you just got back from hometowns? I just got back from hometowns.
All right, tell me about it.
They went great.
Good.
But it's been emotionally taxing. I didn't expect coming in here. Obviously, I knew, I was going to develop feelings, but I didn't expect them to be so deep. But I am a little bit nervous because I have feelings for, I'm falling for multiple women.
Being done, you still have several more important parts left. If not, none of that was really that important, and now are the most important parts of the season.
This is the week where it hits. I think the biggest thing is take a beat when you feel something. You have to give it time. I knew a lot about Kelsey in the beginning. That was great, but I didn't know enough about her until we got that alone time on Fantasy Suites.
Right.
I didn't know how she was going to be with my family. Right? There are some really, really important steps left that you just have to make sure you keep your mind open to.
He says one thing that he found helpful was really building a connection and talking during Fantasy Suites, getting that one-on-one time with that person completely off camera and really learning things about them that y'all have yet to talk about, that you've maybe been waiting when the cameras weren't on to discuss. Maybe like finances, maybe like where y'all would move, maybe like possible illnesses or kids, or I don't know. But Joey basically says take advantage of those one-on-one nights in Fantasy Suites. And that was a great opportunity for him to learn a lot more about Kelsey, the woman who ended up winning his season of The Bachelor. His final piece of advice is go with your gut always. He went with his gut, which is how he ended up with Kelsey, and he's so glad that he did. Today, him and Kelsey are still rocking together, and that's a rarity in this Bachelor franchise, okay? I swear people get engaged and then break up like 2 months later. Or in the case of Jen's season, you get engaged and then by the time the season finale comes on, y'all aren't even together anymore. So Grant, I would highly recommend you take Joey's advice, because Joey knows what he's talking about to make his relationships successful. When the girls see each other for the first time since Scotland, they catch up and they ask each other how everyone's hometowns went. And Dina quickly realizes that she's the only one whose family Grant did not meet. And that's really freaking her out. And she says that if she were Grant, that would definitely give her pause on whether or not to move forward with Grant. It is time for the rose ceremony. We have 4 girls left and 3 roses to give out. Heading to the fantasy suites, Latia, which she's gotten the first rose several times now, y'all. That could definitely be a glimpse into the future. Juliana and Zoe. Y'all, Zoe has to be the first person to never get a one-on-one and successfully make it to hometowns and to fantasy suites. I don't know if they can do enough of the work to become ready to be an engaged couple in about 2 to 3 weeks, but she's getting more time. And she didn't even have a one-on-one. She's doing a lot better than people who had one-on-ones and didn't even make it this far. Which means Dina has unfortunately gone home. Aww. It was really the lack of family support that did it for Grant. And he explains that to her. Next week is the Women Tell All. We're going to go back to all the juiciest moments of the season and get the inside scoop on the tea. And then after that, we are having our fantasy suite episode, and then the final episode, y'all. I can see the horizon. It's right over there. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning into my Bachelor commentary again. Remember to wear your seatbelt. Bye.